Who are you?
I'm Bob.
Who sent you, Bob?
Nobody.
Shadow Ops. Robbing government labs. So, someone wants us gone.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Marvel released more of the Thunderbolts recently, and a lot of you have been asking about their plans for the Sentry character, how they're going to deal with such a powerful character from the comics. Really hoping we get to see Sentry versus Hulk in the future of the MCU after Secret Wars. David Harbour, who plays Red Guardian, was also talking about the asterisk in the title that everyone's been crafting theories for. We have a pretty good idea of what's going on there. It's part of Marvel's long-term plan for the team, the characters they'll be bringing back in future movies like Avengers 5, all the movies happening after Secret Wars. So we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. Big reminder, a bunch of Scarlet Witch stuff happening during the Agatha series. Episodes start tonight. I will be doing videos for that. They'll post Wednesday morning, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that. But none of that stuff will be connected directly to what's happening with Thunderbolts and Sentry. That's like a completely different storyline, more connected to what's happening with the Avengers characters. But in the Thunderbolts trailer that I put at the beginning of this, you get a couple good scenes of them all meeting Sentry for the first time. They have no idea who he is or what he is, and he has no idea who they are. The team does not exist at the beginning of the movie. None of the Thunderbolts characters know who any of the other characters are either. The whole reveal of the Sentry in the MCU is all part of Val's secret plan in the movie to kill all of them, hoping that either the Sentry kills them or they kill each other, thinking that each other are hostiles. With a couple exceptions of the more public characters, nobody in this group here knows who the others are. Like, for instance, Yelena Belova knows who Red Guardian is because they have history together, and he becomes one of the Thunderbolts. They all know who U.S. Agent is because he's very publicly disgraced and kicked out of the military discharge, so they know about that because it was covered by the news very widely when it happened. But otherwise, none of the characters really know each other and have not met each other. Val's been using all of them in a very compartmentalized kind of way, so none of them know about the missions that each other have been going on for her, or that they've all been working for Val. As you can see, the MCU version of the Sentry is going to be different from the comic book Sentry in a couple big ways. It's Lewis Pullman playing the character. You probably remember him from Top Gun Maverick. He calls himself Bob when he's talking about the Sentry. His real name is Robert Reynolds from the comics. So he's going from playing one Bob to another Bob. In the comics, Sentry was created in the 1980s, and he winds up getting his powers under totally different circumstances than he does in the movies. Comic book Robert Reynolds was a junkie looking for another fix, broke into a random laboratory looking for drugs. What he found was the Golden Sentry Serum, which was an evolution of the Super Soldier Serum as part of the Weapons Plus program. The US government had been trying to create a better version of the serum for the past 40 plus years since the first Captain America. We do have the Weapons Plus program in the MCU. They introduced the whole concept during the Incredible Hulk movie. We'll hear more about that in the future of the MCU too, because it's sort of the path to Weapon X, and they're doing adamantium during Captain America Brave New World.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you adamantium.
So like all these pieces they're setting up on the board so that they can do more Weapons Plus stuff and Weapon X stuff down the road. Robert Reynolds takes the Golden Sentry Serum thinking that he was getting another fix, having no idea what was in the vial, like he just saw a vial of drugs and injected himself with it. It mutates his body, giving him the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. He gained many different types of powers, and because he was already mentally unstable when he took it, the process also fractured him, creating the Void, which was his own repressed, darker persona, given its own life, which also has access to the same powers as the Sentry, but it's like a completely separate persona inside him, which can take over his body at any time. The Sentry is essentially the normal Robert Reynolds, like his normal mind. He wants to be a hero, good person, help people. The Void is the total opposite of that, like a being of total chaos and destruction, using his near limitless powers for evil. So the whole thread of the character in the Marvel Universe isn't so much that the Avengers or even like the villains on Earth are worried that he's going to come for them. Everyone's mostly worried about the Void, particularly the heroes. Like the Avengers are really worried about the Void, as is Robert Reynolds' Sentry himself. Like the thing that he's most afraid of is himself. He's afraid of the Void. All because he doesn't know how to control it or stop it. He's shown himself strong enough to rival the Hulk when he's at full World Breaker Hulk levels of power. Now, theoretically, the Hulk's power is limitless, the madder he gets, but like World Breaker Hulk is a good comparison because it's one of the maddest we've ever seen him inside of Marvel Comics, next to say like the Immortal Hulk. That's sort of like a whole different twist on the Hulk character. No idea if the movies will ever take the Hulk in that direction. It would be really cool though, like a really badass R-rated Hulk story. Sentry also has reality warping powers, not quite as strong as Scarlet Witch's reality warping, but he's been able to affect the entire planet with them. He can fly, he has molecular manipulation, meaning he can restructure molecules like Scarlet Witch using the Hex to create things. He can resurrect himself. His healing factor is way more powerful than Deadpool and Wolverine's, making him functionally immortal if he isn't killed, but he can be killed. Like I just did a bunch of Noel videos because he's in Venom: The Last Dance. Like they're finally introducing the character in live action. There's a big crossover character. During the recent King in Black event, Noel was able to kill him by ripping his body in half. Sentry can also teleport. He has all the other regular enhanced attributes of a character like Superman, kind of like Homelander too. Homelander's probably a better comparison, except he's not evil like Homelander. He can give off energy bursts just like Homelander or Superman. He's also got psionic abilities, and when he's in void form, he can also manipulate darkness, which they refer to as umbra kinesis. He's not meant to be totally invincible. Like I said, he can be killed. His main weaknesses are his mental instability, making him very weak to psychic attacks. He doesn't have total control over his powers because they're so great, and he's vulnerable to chi, like spiritual energy. Inside the MCU movies, the way they're changing his origin and the way his powers work, Val will be the one to create him in present day when the movie picks up. The trailer sort of reveals some of the details of this. All the different Thunderbolts characters learn that Val has had them going on separate missions, going after secret labs, pulling off big hits, killing high-ranking officials, all in service of getting her the tech and the scientists that she needs to create the Sentry. MCU Robert Reynolds is still meant to be mentally unstable when he goes through this process, but they're depicting the Void in a totally different way from the comics, and they're not giving him every single one of his comic book powers, especially the crazier ones. So part of the question people have been asking about this movie is there's no way the Thunderbolts characters would have any chance of beating Sentry in an actual fight. None of them have any of the powers they would need that he's weak against. The way the actors have been talking about the movie, it sounds more like they figure out in this moment here that Val betrayed all of them, like when they make it to where the Sentry's been created, this base outside in the desert. Once they figure out that Val's betrayed them, they bond over that, kill the troops that Val sends to clean up her mess after they don't kill each other and the Sentry doesn't wind up killing them. And on the way out, like in the post-credit scene for the trailer here, of course the trailer has a post-credit scene, there's that joke about them all teaming up eventually to get revenge on Val, which you see in the Avengers Tower in this trailer here, where she bought back during Spider-Man Homecoming. If you remember, during the events of Spider-Man Homecoming, Happy said that they had to be out of the Avengers Tower. They were moving out because Tony Stark had sold it to a mystery person. Turns out that mystery person is Val, because who would have that kind of money in the MCU? Only a couple people, and she basically is the head of the CIA, so she's using money from the government, essentially, to buy the Avengers Tower. That's part of a whole different subplot in the asterisk in the title. We'll talk about that later in the video. There are a couple solid scenes of Sentry in the trailer. Notice we see him facing off against Val's goon squad, who empty their clips on him. Notice all the bullet holes, but no blood, because he's near invulnerable like the Hulk. One of the big changes to his powers, though, I think they will not give him his reality warping abilities or teleportation or psionic abilities at first. Maybe he'll eventually develop some of those over time, but for instance, I don't think they want too many reality warpers inside the MCU. Like Scarlet Witch is the real big one. Her son Billy, played by Joe Locke in teenage form, will be like the next big one. If you haven't read any of the Young Avengers comics or any comics that feature the Wiccan character, his powers are basically the same as Scarlet Witch's, but his magic is coated blue, not red like hers, but their powers work the same way. We'll see that start to bear out in the MCU version through the Agatha episodes. Like, he won't start the series with every single one of his abilities or knowing every single thing about himself. That'd be part of the mystery of the show, like the mystery of him discovering who he really is and what's going on with Scarlet Witch. At least when they start out with the Sentry in the MCU here, he'll have the power to rival the most powerful form of the Hulk, but they're starting out using him more like a dark parody of Superman, kind of like Homelander, if he weren't such a douchebag. Homelander being created with Compound V is a really good comparison because we're talking about the Golden Sentry Serum, like chemically creating yourself a Superman, essentially. Homelander isn't nearly as powerful as the Sentry, and they are both mentally unstable, but the big difference really is that Homelander is fully aware that he is doing bad things, actively trying to be villainous. Sentry, on the other hand, wants to be good. He wants to be a hero, use his powers for the betterment of mankind. The Void would be more like the Shadow Demon level version of Homelander if he were way more powerful. And if when Homelander was doing evil things, like he physically changed form to do those things. What it seems like the movie is doing is more of a commentary on mental health. Like all the characters in the trailer talk about their mental problems that they're dealing with, and they work through them over the course of the film as they all start to help each other. During the movie, I believe the way the team stops the Void, or like the threat of the Void, is by becoming friends with Sentry and helping him deal with his own emotional trauma, because there's no way they'd actually win in a drag-out knockdown fight. He would end that fight before it even started. That's how fast and powerful he is. So part of the idea is they help him work through his trauma, like it'd be like the other Avengers trying to help Robert Reynolds deal with his own mental problems. And even though they don't visualize the Void anywhere during the trailers here, like they'll probably save that for like the last couple of trailers. Supposedly the way they do that in the MCU is going to be a bit different from the comics. In the comics, the Void is just like an alternate persona that just physically fights the other characters, like he just transforms into the Void essentially. In the movies, they're making it sound more of like a Jujutsu Kaisen domain expansion situation where like the other characters literally travel into the Void, like the Void is a place they travel into that's created from the Sentry's mind. So it'd be kind of like the characters traveling into his mind to actually help him inside that mind space. But like I said, I'm not expecting the trailers to get too deep into that idea just because it's so hard to get that across during a trailer. They just want to pitch him more as sort of like a Homelander type of character. Like he could be good or he could be really evil, but it's really dangerous because he is so powerful. Who is going to stop him? Who could stop him theoretically? There are only like a couple people in the MCU that could do that, and we don't know where they are right now. Hopefully Captain America Brave New World will also clarify some of that too, like where is the Hulk Bruce Banner right now? Where are the other big Avengers characters that have survived into present day? Like what is Thor doing right now? Just in case somebody like Val creates the most powerful person that's ever been on planet Earth next to some of these other characters, like we might want some of them to show up just to help out in case. When it comes to the asterisk in the title, Kevin Feige actually talked about this at Comic-Con, but David Harbour was joking about the fact that it was actually added later in production. So the big theory is that the Thunderbolts is just a temporary name. The asterisk denotes that they will eventually change the name and they themselves, like the team, will become the new Dark Avengers. Now, part of the dark twist of this, I think, the Val character, is that Val is working for the government. Thunderbolt Ross is the president, so she thinks of herself as the good guy in all this. So it's not like she would call her new team the Dark Avengers. She'll probably call them the New Avengers and pretend like they are like the good characters now, even though it's a bunch of anti-heroes. But really, it will be more like the Dark Avengers forming in the MCU. I am sure this will be talked about a lot heading into Avengers 5 because there's another New Avengers team that Sam Wilson, Captain America, is going to help put together. What are they going to do when you have two Avengers teams heading into Avengers 5? We do know that some of the characters will survive into the future distantly, like for instance, Yelena Belova is supposed to be crossing over with Daredevil of all people because Black Widow and Daredevil have a long history in the comics, but they never really got the chance to do that with the Natasha Black Widow like the comics did, so they're just giving that story to Yelena Belova at some point. She already crossed over with the Hawkeye characters, so it makes sense that you would see her crossing around with other street-level heroes like Daredevil at some point because she was also in New York City for a good long while. We'll get some more footage for the movie in the next couple of months, so of course I'll do more videos as they release that. But if you have any big questions about the characters or what's going on that I didn't address during the video, just write those below in the comments. Everybody click here for those first couple episodes of Agatha. I'll update the link as soon as I post that, and click here for my other real big Thunderbolts trailer video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.